This timeline is in the grip of an ice age, with an ice sheet covering much of Europe, Canada, and the northern states of the U.S. But it hasn't been uninhabited forever. The enigmatic Forerunner ruins pose both a threat and a promise. Main character profiles. Eric Smith. Born in 1964 in Timeline 2, Colonel Smith, USAF, retired, has been a government man all his life. He worked for the United States National Security Agency, then inside a top-secret unit within Homeland Security. It was tasked with defending the states against threats from other timelines. These included world walkers, those who could cross between these alternative worlds and his own timeline. Many might consider this easy. After all, most timelines are uninhabited or populated by Stone Age tribes at best. However, the exceptions are the problem. The notorious clan and their world walkers came from Timeline 1, and contact with this secretive organization resulted in a national trauma, dwarfing both 9/11 and the War on Terror. Smith knows that there are other inhabited timelines out there, and they're hostile. At least one vanished civilization left relics far ahead of the United States technology levels, evidence that they'd been fighting and losing a paratime war against parties unknown. And then there's the Black Rain timeline, where reconnaissance drones and human spies go missing, and air samples contain traces of radioactive fallout. Defending the nation is easier said than done, when you can't even be sure what you're defending it from. But you can make a good guess. Kirk Douglas. Born in 1941 in Timeline 2, Kurt Douglas grew up in the German Democratic Republic, East Germany, during the Cold War. Drafted at 18, he ended up in the Border Guards. Then in late 1968, he escaped over the Berlin Wall to the west and emigrated to the United States. Marrying Greta, another East German defector, he made a new life for himself. Kurt raised a family and lived quietly with his son, daughter-in-law, and their adopted children, Rita and River. The East German Foreign Intelligence Service didn't send Kurt to the West to spy on the United States. For a defector to infiltrate their host nation's intelligence agencies was considered impossible. But they had longer-term objectives in mind: to have children who would be U.S. citizens by birth, raised and trained as loyal agents of the workers' state. They'd have the perfect backgrounds to infiltrate the NSA, the CIA, and the government. But the Cold War ended, and East Germany reunified with the West before the plan could be carried out. Old skills don't fade easily, and Kurt has given Rita the best training he could for living in a police state. And she knows, if she ever gets in over her head, that she can count on Grandpa Kurt and his friends for help. Miriam Burgeson. Born in 1968 in Timeline 2, Miriam grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. She worked as a tech sector journalist before discovering in her early 30s that her mother had been lying to her for most of her life. Mother and daughter were fugitives from the Grunmarkt, a small kingdom in Timeline 1, which had reached medieval levels of technology. They were women of noble birth, whose designated role was to produce more world walkers and to serve the clan. Miriam world walked home by accident and was expected to conform. But that had never been Miriam's style. So, in short order, she discovered a route to a new inhabited timeline and built a business startup, using it to import high-tech innovations into this new territory. This triggered a crisis within the clan, reviving a dormant blood feud and